The guitar industry has a habit of celebrating its winners loudly while letting its losers fade into the background. New brands launch with Instagram campaigns and YouTube partnerships. Successful brands plaster their logos on tour rigs and signature artists. But when a brand starts losing ground, the decline tends to happen quietly. Store space shrinks. Dealer networks contract. Quality control gets shaky. Catalogs stop being updated. And then one day you realize you have not seen a new model from that brand in 3 years, and you are not sure if they still exist. This is the silent kill list. The guitar brands that are quietly losing relevance, mindshare, and market position in 2026, even though their logos are still visible on store walls and their websites are still operational. Some of these brands will survive in some form. Some of them will be acquired and reshaped. Some of them will likely not exist as independent companies 5 years from now. Today, we are going through 7 specific guitar brands that show clear signs of decline, what the warning indicators look like, and why these companies are losing ground in a market that is consolidating around fewer and fewer dominant players. None of this is meant to celebrate decline. The disappearance of any guitar brand reduces consumer choice and concentrates market power. But pretending the decline is not happening serves nobody. Let us start with what an actual brand decline looks like. A guitar brand in decline shows specific indicators. Store presence shrinks as dealers reduce inventory commitments, and the brand loses shelf space to competitors. The dealer network contracts as long-term partners stop reordering. Quality control problems become more frequent as cost-cutting pressures hit production. The product catalog stops getting refreshed as research and development budgets are reduced. Major artist endorsements expire or migrate to competing brands, and the brand's social media presence becomes increasingly stale as marketing budgets get redirected. These indicators are visible from outside the company, which is how independent observers can identify decline before it becomes official. Now let us walk through the 7 brands showing these signs in 2026. Number 1. Schecter Guitar Research. Schecter built its modern reputation in the late 1990s and the early 2000s as the go-to brand for metal players who wanted high-quality instruments with serious specs at moderate prices. The Hellraiser, the Damien, and the C1 Platinum became standard tools for working metal musicians, and the brand's signature artists included Sinister Gates from Avenged Sevenfold, Jeff Loomis from Nevermore, and several other defining metal players of that era. In 2026, the picture has changed. Schecter has lost several of its highest-profile signature artists over the past decade, with players migrating to ESP, Jackson, Ibanez, and boutique builders. The metal market itself has compressed, with younger players gravitating toward Ibanez and Kiesel for shred-focused instruments and toward Solar Guitars and ESP Ltd for modern metal builds. Schecter's distribution has thinned at major retailers, and the catalog has shifted toward budget-tier models without the higher-end builds that originally defined the brand. The company is not going out of business, but its relevance in the metal guitar market has declined significantly, and the trajectory is not improving. Schecter's modern lineup is competent, but it is no longer the conversation that it was in 2013. Number 2. Washburn Guitars. Washburn has one of the longest histories in American guitar manufacturing, founded in 1883, and once a serious competitor to Gibson and Martin in the early 20th century. The brand made a comeback in the 1980s as the metal era found use for the company's Idea N4 and other shred-focused models, with Nuno Bettencourt and Paul Stanley both having signature lines. The company has struggled significantly since the JCMI Jam Industries restructuring period. Production has shifted multiple times. Dealer relationships have weakened. The catalog has shrunk to a handful of acoustic models and a thin electric line. New product development has effectively stopped, and the brand's visibility at major retailers has dropped to the point that many guitar buyers have not seen a Washburn in a store in years. The Washburn name still has some equity in the acoustic market, particularly in the lower price tiers, but the brand's overall trajectory points toward continued decline rather than recovery. The next decade will likely see Washburn either acquired by a larger holding company or quietly wound down to a heritage-only existence. Number 3. Hamer Guitars. Hamer was founded in 1973 in Chicago and built a strong reputation through the 1970s, 80s, and 90s for making high-quality American electric guitars with distinct designs. Players like Eddie Van Halen, John Lennon, and Andy Summers all owned and played Hamer guitars during the brand's peak. Hamer was acquired by Fender Musical Instruments Corporation in 2008, and the brand has effectively been on life support since then. Fender has used the Hamer name for occasional limited reissues, but the brand does not have its own dedicated product line, marketing budget, or active model development. For all practical purposes, Hamer exists as a trademark held by Fender rather than as a functional guitar brand. The likely future for Hamer is either continued dormancy or an eventual sale to a smaller boutique builder who would operate the name as a heritage label. Either way, the brand as it existed in its peak years is effectively over. Number 4. Dean Guitars. Dean was founded in 1976 and built a strong identity in the metal market through the 80s and 90s, particularly as the brand associated with Dimebag Darrell of Pantera. After Dimebag's death in 2004, the brand leaned heavily on his memorial signature models for over a decade, but the broader product line remained relevant in the metal community. In 2023, Armadillo Enterprises, Dean's parent company, filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. The bankruptcy proceedings resulted in a reorganization, but the company emerged with reduced production capacity, weaker dealer relationships, and a smaller catalog than before. The brand has continued operating but in a more limited form, and the soft cycle in the metal market has made the recovery harder than it would have been a decade earlier. Dean has not died, but its position in the guitar industry has shifted from a major metal-focused brand to a niche player struggling to maintain its existing customer base while developing new product lines. The trajectory is not catastrophic, but it is concerning. Number 5. B.C. Rich Guitars. B.C. Rich was founded in 1969 and became one of the defining brands of 1980s metal, with the Warlock, the Mockingbird, and the Beach becoming visual icons of the era. The brand was associated with Slayer, Megadeth, Anthrax, and dozens of other metal players who chose the radical body shapes that define the B.C. Rich aesthetic. If you are finding this helpful, hit subscribe. We cover guitar gear every week so you can play better and spend smarter. The company has changed ownership multiple times since its peak, and the modern B.C. Rich lineup has become a niche product. Manufacturing has shifted between multiple production facilities. Quality control has been inconsistent. The catalog has narrowed to focus on the legacy body shapes rather than expanding into modern player needs, and the dealer network has thinned to a small number of metal-focused retailers. B.C. Rich exists as a working brand in 2026, but it has become a specialty product rather than a major industry player. The brand's relevance is largely confined to nostalgia buyers and dedicated metal collectors, neither of which represents a growing market. Number 6. Peavey in the guitar division. Peavey has been a strong presence in guitar amplification for decades, with the 5150, the 6505, and the Classic 30 series remaining mainstays of the metal and rock amp markets. The amp division remains profitable and competitive in 2026. The guitar division is a different story. Peavey produced the Wolfgang signature model with Eddie Van Halen during the late 90s and early 2000s, which represented the high point of the brand's electric guitar credibility. After Van Halen's contract ended, and the EVH brand launched separately, Peavey's electric guitar lineup gradually declined. The HP Special, the AT200, and the Cropper Classic have all been discontinued or quietly removed from active production. The current Peavey electric guitar catalog is thin, the marketing investment is minimal, and the brand's visibility in the electric guitar market is declining. The amp division is likely to continue operating successfully, but the guitar division may not survive the next product planning cycle in any meaningful form. Number 7. Yamaha in the high-end electric tier. Yamaha is one of the largest musical instrument manufacturers in the world, with strong positions in pianos, drums, brass, and woodwind instruments, and a successful Pacifica electric guitar line that has been on this channel's value lists multiple times. The high-end electric tier is where Yamaha has lost ground. The RevStar, while a competent design, has not gained the traction that Yamaha hoped. The SG and SBG models have been quietly discontinued or reduced to limited production. The Yamaha electric guitar division above the Pacifica line has effectively contracted, leaving the brand competing primarily in the entry-level and mid-range segments, rather than the premium tier where it once had relevance. This is not a decline in the same way that Washburn or Hamer is declining. Yamaha is a financially strong company with substantial resources, but the brand's strategic position in premium electric guitars has weakened, and the company may eventually exit that segment entirely to focus on the categories where its market position is stronger. So why are these brands declining together? The guitar industry in 2026 is consolidating around a smaller number of dominant players. Fender Musical Instruments Corporation, Gibson, the PRS family, and the Yamaha Ibanez parent companies control an increasingly large share of the global market. Private equity firms have acquired several mid-tier brands and either restructured them aggressively or quietly wound them down to extract value before disposition. Independent brands without major private equity or holding company backing face increasing pressure from rising material costs, manufacturing complexity, and marketing investment requirements. The brands on this list are caught in that pressure. They are too small to compete on global scale with Fender and Gibson. They are too established to pivot quickly into emerging niches, and they are not generating enough growth to justify continued investment from their parent companies. The result is a slow, quiet decline that produces no dramatic announcement and no obvious moment of failure, but a steady reduction in relevance year after year. Some of these brands will survive in some form. Schecter has enough independent resources to potentially recover if the metal market cycles back. Yamaha has unlimited corporate backing to revive its electric guitar division if it chooses to. Dean is rebuilding after bankruptcy and may stabilize at a smaller but sustainable size. Others, like Washburn and Hamer, are on a trajectory that points toward eventual disposition. 5 years from now, we will probably be looking at a guitar industry where some of these names have been acquired and integrated into larger portfolios. Others have been wound down to heritage-only operations, and a few have somehow found a path back to relevance. The brands that survive will be the ones that find a clear identity in a saturated market, develop genuinely new product offerings rather than coasting on heritage, and either consolidate distribution or accept smaller market positions in exchange for stability. The silent kill list is not a celebration. It is a recognition that the guitar industry is changing, and not every brand that has been part of the past will be part of the future. Drop a comment and tell me which brand you most want to see survive, and which brand you think will not make it through the next decade. The comments on this kind of video usually surprise me, and I want to hear what players are seeing from the inside.